pretty much we're going to go over the third-party tools. So this one is Observatory Core, and I'm sure most of you guys are already running it or have heard of it before. This is like the main tool that you're going to want to be running when you're, starting up the game and whatnot. What it's going to do is going to read all your journal files, and they have many different, I call them tools or graphs or tables or whatever that show you different things within the system. So all of these tools on the side are optional by you. You can download them at your own will. You can choose which ones you want to use and not use. But those are all going to be found on this website that I'll link in the chat. So these are just the plugins. This isn't the actual Observatory Core tool. This is just the stuff that you see on the side, all these things. When you scroll down all the way at the bottom of that website, you'll see them all listed, and then you'll see the version number and when they were last updated. So what I like to do is just bookmark this page and check it, you know, weekly just to see if there's any new updates or new versions out. Usually, there'll be some kind of an announcement on their Discord or somewhere that says, "Hey, new update or updated this plugin. Here's the new features, whatever." Or on the forums, I think they announce it. But main ones you're going to want to use are the BioInsights for sure. This is going to cover all of your exobiology. It's also going to help you find or determine whether a certain variant is on the surface of a moon. Um, yeah, this one's very helpful. It shows you an estimate of the value that you probably get from visiting that body. So if you want to go over it real quick, just to break it down a little bit, when you first run this observatory, it's gonna be empty. What you're gonna have to do is hit read all in the corner, and it's gonna take some time, probably several minutes, depending on how much data you have. Um, and then it'll start to populate when it's finished. So the first one that is at the top is usually BioInsights. So you'll see this start to populate. Now, when it first populates, this is everything that I've ever seen in game. This is all my stats so far. Now, I don't want it to constantly show me all this, even when I go into a new system, because then I have to scroll all the way down. It tends to jump up to the top whenever you enter a new system or whatever, or new data gets added here. So what I do is I go to my settings, and core is where your main menu of all your settings are. It's going to list all your plugins. It's going to show the versions as well. If there's an error, I think it pops up here, let you know. But anyway, all of these tabs are each um, separate plugins settings, if you will. So for BioInsights, these are all the settings that will change stuff within BioInsights. And then you go down one, you see body count. These settings, same thing for and so on and so forth. So the more tools you have, the more or the bigger list you'll see here. But it's really straightforward. You don't really have to edit anything in here. Especially for BioInsights, it's pretty self-explanatory. You can check off the stuff that you want included and not included. Um, so if you don't want to see like entries you've not seen, it'll put like a little mark next to it saying, "Hey, you might have seen this in like another region, but the region that you're currently in, this is new to you." And then if it's orange, it's going to be a new Codex variant. Like you have the possibility of finding something that's not been found yet in that region. Those will look orange. Um, I should have a couple in here. I had one not too long ago. Now, just because it's orange doesn't mean it's definitely going to be there, but it's a good tool. Here you go. So this was a strikeout, but it's a good example. So this system, Jurie YJ-E D21 body 1E, this had 4 possible different bios, and then it showed me the orange next to the tussock catina red variant, and that's Y star. So the red variant is a Y star. All these are kind of telling you like, hey, this is the type of star or type of material where this bio is usually found. So if it's green, It's usually because those are like a definite observatory knows that it's going to be there. If it's yellow, it's unsure. It could be either or. And then if it's red, it's more than likely not going to be there, but there's still a chance. It's still showing you. Now the reason this happens is because this system I think had a class main star or a K, and then it also had a Y class moon. Um, so this moon, or yeah, a Y class planet that was a dwarf star, and then it had a moon, which is this body. So the moon is using the Y star, or thinking the Y star is its main parent, but actually the A star took over. So I think there's like a distance requirement. So if you have like a dwarf star that's like over 100,000 light seconds away from the main one, there's a good possibility that the main light source is going to be that dwarf star. So all the planets or moons that might have bio are going to fall under that star's category and ignore the main star. That's different. When they're closer together, like within like 50,000 light seconds or whatever, it usually tends to take uh, precedence for the main star of the system and not the secondary, where you would think, hey, this is 30,000 light seconds away, it should be this star, but it's actually, the main star. So that's a little wishy-washy. Unfortunately, like some of these might pop up and say, oh, this is a possible variant, but it's at the secondary star that's 200,000 light seconds away. Well, now you got to make the choice of, do I want to travel that far just to see if it's a variant? Because most times this will happen where when you FSS scan the body, you're going to see the X's pop up, and sure enough, the variant is X'd out. So um, it I mean, it's all up to you, and like if you want to make the journey, I say go for it because you never know. And this doesn't happen all the time. Um, but yeah, I mean, most of my finds have been random. Like I really don't actively look. Like, okay, I'm only going to map Y stars, and I'm going to try to find this tussock Katina. I tried that before. It's hit or miss because there's so many that you really have to know like what the system requires, the distance from the main star, the temperature, if there should be a certain gas giant in the system with it. Like there's certain requirements that are needed for this bio to spawn. And I think Canon has a good website called BioForge that you can search any bio and it'll give you a list of what system it was found in. And if there's more than one, it'll show you like if this system had an A star, this system had a B star. You can kind of judge it off of that, but most of these variants that haven't been found are there's only one found in one region, so you're not really getting a good sample rate of like say four were found in the whole galaxy, and now you have four to go off of rather than just the one. So you could use that to your advantage too and try to look, but most of this happens just randomly as you're jumping through traveling. And it's just important that you check whenever you do see atmospheres in the system. If this isn't toggled and showing or displaying you, make sure you switch from another one to check it just before leaving because you might have a variant in there. So it's a good habit to get into. But I jumped ahead a little bit. So before all that, let me explain the core and what you're going to want to do after installing all these. Let me give you the latest release for Observatory Core. I forgot to do that. This is what you're going to want to download. This is the actual tool, like the actual thing that's holding all these, this at the top. So that's the latest version. When you have all that installed, when you want to install the plugins on the side, the website that I pasted, um, you're going to download each one individually. And let me just share that screen real quick so you can see it's easier. Um, okay, so this screen right here, the one that I shared in the chat. So once you download the uh, actual tool, you come back to this website, then you're gonna come down here. You're gonna want to grab BioInsights. The Codex Companion, I don't use. I don't really know much about it, but it's not necessary. You can download it, check it out. Evaluator is good. Evaluator is going to show you a rough estimate of like, oh, you found 3 water worlds in the system. It's going to give you a rough estimate of what the value is before scanning, and then as you scan, it's going to update the actual value, and it's going to point out what bodies are high value that should be mapped, and then ignore the ones that aren't that valuable. So it kind of gives you a list if you want to go off of that. Um, Pretty useful. Signal monitor is okay. This tracks like notable stellar phenomena, listening posts, unregistered comms beacons. Um, that's pretty much what my list has. It might have some more in there, but that's pretty much just giving you a rundown of when you found a NSP, a listening post, or you might have, went to like collection of wonders or Colonia and went to a listening post and scanned it, and now you got like a message with some text to read. This is just telling you or giving you a list of it and like where you found it. So if you find some NSP somewhere out in your exploration, you might be like months along and say, oh, when was that, or what was that system that I found that NSP? And then you can just go right here and it'll give you the list. You can see what date it was, the system name, and what it is you found there. So Signal Monitor is pretty cool. I don't really use it a lot. Voxel Stats is good. You're probably gonna want that. So voxels that we were going over last episode, as when you do come across a voxel that you want to start exploring, say it's 100 systems, say it's 50, say it's 5,000. As you are a as you're jumping, say you start from 0 and you work your way up. As you're jumping through the voxel, this is going to update and let you know how many systems you've visited in the voxel so far, how many systems you fully scanned, the minimum total bodies in each system. So as the count gets up, it's going to average it out. Same thing with the body count and then body average. It's going to tell you Earth-like worlds, the average of that, ammonia worlds, water worlds, terraformable water worlds, terraformable high metal contents, and then it's going to also display the minimum helium-rich percentage and the maximum helium-rich percentage. And then it's going to give you the range. So helium-rich systems, you're looking for, I think, 29.5 or higher. If you come,
29.3.
all right, there you go, 29.3 or higher. If you come across a system and you go to the system map and you select a gas giant, you go down to the third tab where it'll show you the percentage, and if it's more than 29.3, you might not get the notification of like while FSS scanning saying possible helium rich voxel. But if you see it's above 29.3, that that should tell you, hey, this could be a helium rich voxel. So let me try the next system or another system in the same voxel. Um, Again, if you go to that system, there's no gas giants, just keep going until you do find gas giants. And then the more systems you go to, you'll get that max helium rich range. So 29 point, say you find 29.8, you might jump into the next one and it might be 31%. Then you might jump in the next one, it might go back down to 30. So after like 5 or 10, you should have a good idea of what the highest helium rich percentage you saw and what the lowest one is. And the only thing that matters with that is how many helium-rich gas giants are probably going to spawn in each system. So the lower the percentage, you're not really going to see a lot of helium-rich gas giants. You could still come across a lot of body systems, but you're not going to come across a lot of helium-rich gas giants. So if you're looking for those in particular, you're going to want to go way up like 33, 34, 35,
I can actually give you the statistics on that,
There you go.
since I looked at Spanch. So each class of gas giant has like an absolute like highest cap they can be before they're classed as being helium rich. So for most of the classes of gas giants, they all go up to 33.9%. So keep in mind that when you see that your system has 34% helium, that means all non life bearing gas giants like water based and ammonia based life will be helium rich, or water giants, obviously. So yeah, if you're like specifically looking for helium rich gas giants, look for around or higher 34%.
Cool. All right, so yeah, my screen is showing the actual voxel stat window right now. So this system I scouted in Izanami back before the expedition, and it's where I found most of the mountain spots for the route that we had. Um, you could see right now I'm at 363 or 364 visited, but only 363 fully scanned. So I didn't fully scan one system. I might have missed a body or whatnot. But there's 920 total systems in this Boxel. So I didn't even finish it. But with this information, I can now see how many bodies in total I've scanned so far, found, how many average per system. And then you got Earth-like worlds. There, I didn't find any, but I found 6 ammonia worlds. I found 20 terraformable water worlds, and then 93 terraformable high metal content. So this is good for those, for the water worlds, ammonia worlds, whatnot, but not so much Earth likes. But I wasn't really looking for that. Now, this was 28.5 to 30.6. This is probably the lowest, one of the lowest ranges you'll see when it's like a low helium rich system. Now, I didn't see a lot of helium rich gas giants. Where is that? Oh, they don't have it in here. That's in the other one. I think I only came across like under 10 helium rich gas giants. So that should give you a good idea of like the lower percentages aren't going to really give you a lot of helium rich gas giants. But there were a lot of good things going on in these systems, which is why I stayed in it and kept exploring them. So yeah, that's pretty much what this is going to do. And then you'll see the other ones, see this ones that aren't even helium rich, it'll still give you the stats for, and it'll still give you the percentages of it. So you might come across a good Boxel that's not helium rich, and you're wondering, man, what was the percentage of that? Because if I come across that again, and what mass was it, you can use this to your advantage, kind of compare and whatnot.
So, besides helium-rich gas giants, are there other specific things that could spawn in a helium-rich voxel or helium-rich
Yeah,
system?
you're gonna see a lot of wide rings.
Gas
Uh,
giants is moons with the gas giants.
yeah, gas giants and other gas giants. You're gonna see a high body count. It's mainly you're gonna see a lot of ringed landables as like the first 3 or 4 bodies in the system. They're more than likely really close to the star, and sometimes they're in a co-orbit. Um,
Not just
there were
landables, but like metal rich or high metal content in general. You usually see like three or
yeah,
four
high
before
metal.
the
Yeah,
asteroid belt, and then it'll get to the
yeah,
gas giants. Yeah.
and they mostly all have rings, and you'll probably come across one that has like a high gravity landable. Um, but after that, you're gonna see your basic gas giants with probably on average like 5 moons each, which is why the body count is so high. But you're also gonna find a lot of inclination, high inclination. So a moon that's orbiting a gas giant with a ring that has a high inclination, so you get that tilted view and you get that crazy view depending on the position of the orbit. That tends to be very common in helium rich as well. Um, yeah, I mean, you never know what you're really going to find in helium rich. A lot of the helium rich
True.
systems that I've scouted, I actually find a lot of the new Codex BIOS. So if you're looking for new Codex entry, or like you want to have your name on the list, whenever Marks posts it each month, and you want your name in the game on a variant that hasn't been found yet, Helium Rich Systems isn't a bad idea or a bad place to start because you'll get a little bit of everything. And Helium Rich Systems tend to have systems that have a lot of atmospheres with a lot of biosignals on them. So if you're looking for, doing some bio or, making some more money, Helium Rich is great for that as well. Really, you just gotta find one or try like 2 or 3 out, and you'll get a sense of like how different it is from your regular systems that you come across.
Very
Also,
cool.
the gas giants look very different as opposed to the regular ones. Arcanic has millions of photos of those if you want examples. So
Cool.
that's
Yeah.
Boxel stats. Next one on that list is going to be Telegram.
Oh,
I think
sorry.
that links.
Wait a moment.
Yeah,
I think this
yeah,
is
yeah.
also good for people. Eclipse asked question: if I were to come across an F mass helium rich voxel, is it just the F voxel that is helium rich, or is everything beneath that
Yeah,
voxel F to
it's
A?
just that Boxel. So if you remember from last session, we were going over the Boxels, and we were telling you that there's one H mass, 8 G mass, 30 whatever F mass, and then it just keeps going up. So the majority of helium rich is going to be found in D mass, D, I think C, are like the two masses where they're most common. There's over hundreds, like there's hundreds of D masses in that sector. However, the one that I found in Izanami, the PDS one, was just where are you at? This was PD-S D4. So just this Boxel was helium rich. If I went to OD-S D4, that one probably isn't helium rich. But if I could still visit it if it exists, and then if I scan it, if I scan two or three of them, I'll get this populated under it, and then I'll see, oh, okay, this one's 25 to 25 point, whatever, you know. So you could still visit, like if I'm done with this helium rich or I see a helium rich, you could check other DMAS in that same sector. It's just not always going to guarantee it. So yeah, when you come across a helium rich, it's just that name. So you're just going to want to copy this portion without the X's, which is the numbers, and then paste this into the gal map and then see how many total there are. Or if you already visited one and scanned it, it should tell you how many total systems there are in that voxel. So the more closer you are to the core, the higher this number is going to be. And then the further away, the lower it's going to be. So right now, where I'm at in the Vales, there were a few helium rich that I did. I think it was, yeah, Jurie. This one was only 28. This one was only 23. So they tend to get smaller as you go towards the rim. So if you want a lot, like a big voxel, I know it could be a little overwhelming to see. Like, man, there's 900 systems in this helium rich box, so I'm only at 100, and I'm kind of getting bored, or I'm kind of not seeing what I want to see. You don't have to finish the voxel to see. You can get an idea of what the voxel has, but just by doing the first 100, and then decide if you want to do the rest, or you could jump around and not do them in order. But yeah, you explore wherever you want. I suggest checking out a helium rich voxel if you haven't yet, because the systems can have a lot of good potential, or you might see some stuff that you might not seen yet.
Yeah, it's funny
So yeah,
because the most things you said I've seen, and I found a healing rich Boxel an hour and a half after the first Exploratorium, and a lot of ringed bodies.
yep,
It was very cool to see.
yep. A lot of rings. Now you'll see a lot of big rings that'll pop up in the Explorer tab, which we're gonna get to.
Yeah.
You'll get the notification for a really big ring, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's always visible.
Yeah,
So
there was one
the
that didn't
yeah,
have enough mass because it was like almost 100 light seconds diameter, but yeah, no.
yeah. So I think they're working on a way to determine whether it's visible or not. I don't know if they did it yet, but I think someone from Canon was working on that, where he was having people submit data. So if you came across a wide ring that was like 10 light seconds wide, or whatever, like something crazy, and they're having people fly to it just to see if it's visible or not, and then they're submitting that data that they scanned to the person, and then they're crunching them all together to determine, okay, now we have an idea if it's going to be visible, this is the criteria. If it's invisible, this is the criteria. I don't know if they finished it yet, but a good way
Oh,
of telling
yeah.
is just by targeting it in the game, and start flying to it, and you should see like a bright disk around it if it is visible or not. But that's hit or miss, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because something that
Arcane, what were you
Savage
saying?
Samurai said and that I saw in action was generally if you have a giant ring, it's usually visible already from like 2000 light seconds distance.
Yeah,
Or
it also
200.
depends on the kind of ring too,
Yeah. Oh,
because
right.
the icy rings, yeah, they'll show up because those are bright white or blue. But the
Yeah.
but the darker rings, like the brown ones, those aren't always gonna show from a distance. And even if they're not showing, doesn't mean it's not there. It's there. It's just not dense enough to be visible. So if you're flying towards it and you don't see it, and it's 20 light seconds wide,
It's gonna drop you
and
out.
you'll see the warning um um on your dash underneath your radar. And if you see that warning, that means that you're on route to collide with the ring. Now you're not going to see anything, and if it's too late, you're going to drop out suddenly, take damage, and you'll be inside that really wide ring. Now, once you drop out, you're gonna notice like, hey, I don't see any rings here because they're so small and they're so spread out, but they are there. Um, I did see them before several times by accidentally hitting them while trying to see if it was visible or not. So be careful when doing that, or try to turn on orbit lines so you can kind of see its position, and then not fly, straight into the ring. You can kind of make it thinner so it's easier to avoid. But yeah. Anyway, next one
I
will
have something else
be
to include about rings actually.
yeah. Go ahead.
LCU from Canon put up like a notification for EDMC with the Canon plugin. I don't think you guys went over that yet, but that'll tell you like a nearby ring that you need to look at, and I think when you click on it, it'll send you to I forget exactly where it like tells you to go, but that'll tell you um like just have if the ring is visible or not, go to that body. If it is, then contact. I think it's just I think he made up some sort of document about it.
Yeah, I don't know if
To
he's
tell
still
him
doing
to
it or not.
he's not.
I don't know if he is because it really hasn't been touched on. Like I checked the Discord to see, like I did come across it before, and I know that he was working on it, but I don't know if they're still doing it.
Well, I know
Um,
he made a graph, like a plot graph
okay,
about what's visible, what's not visible. I don't know if it came to a consensus about what actually is the defining line between if it's visible or not. I
yeah,
guess that's something I should talk to him about, see if he's done that. But yeah,
yeah,
just
we
go
could
look
reach
at.
out and just ask and see. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's not important. It's if you want to, contribute and help out, and like I don't know, but Canon has stuff like that all the time where they have a so someone has an idea for like oh man, can someone go to this region and help me, finish this Boxel or scan this system because it's in the DSM but it's not completed and I have suspicions. So they're always doing stuff like that. Canon Discord is good to, just be in and just lurk around to see what they're actively uh, looking for, if there's anything you can help out with. Because I think they're doing the Guardian activation thing, which is going to be the first time ever attempted. You're going to activate all Guardian beacons at the same time in game live. So yeah, I skipped over the installation location for these things, which I should have went over. Um, the way that these work is you don't install them within Observatory Core. You kind of do it outside of the tool. Let me find that folder. Let's see. There's a folder, so it's gonna when you install it, it's gonna create a folder. Um, maybe in your documents under Elite Dangerous. Yeah. So I have mine under documents, and then I made a folder called Elite Dangerous, and I put all of the downloaded files from the website in this folder. Um, they are .eop files. So when it downloads, it might go to your download folder. You can just drag and drop them into it. When you install Observatory, it should already have a folder like this. If it doesn't, you can just create one. And then I think you just click open plugin folder, and then where that plugin folder is will be the .dlls, but that's not where you have to store them. That's after you double click the EOP. So when you install one from, say you download BioInsights, it installs, it's in your downloads folder. What you're going to do is double click that EOP file, and if Observatory Core is not running, it's going to automatically open it up, and when it opens up, the plugin should be added there. So it's good to double click it when you're installing all these one at a time. It's good to double click one, have Observatory Core not running, double click one, let it open, you see it, cool, close Observatory, move on to the next one. It's a bit of a hassle, but that's probably the easiest, most effective way to get them all installed properly. And whenever there's an update, you'll do the same thing. You'll download it, you'll double click it without it running, and it should overwrite the existing one and show you the new version has been installed. So that's
And
all you have to do to install each one of these extra tools.
that folder is kind
Um,
of smart because that also functions as a version, like which version do I have installed, sort of as a
yeah, exactly.
keep an
And you
eye
could double
out.
check that. Yeah, and you could double check that here in the core. If you're wondering what version you have and what version is out, just open up Observatory, go to the core here, and just compare the version with the one on the website. Um, and if you happen to download the same version and double click and install it over, it shouldn't affect it. It shouldn't really do anything or mess anything up. But yeah, that's pretty much all you need to do to install each one. Now, what I do is I have the plugin folder that has all my DLLs, but I made a separate folder, custom folder where my downloads are, so that way I can see all the ones, like Bass said, you can check which version you have and whatnot. But that's all you need to do to install the plugin. So if you have any issues with that, feel free to ask. But that's literally all it takes. And then once you install the plugin, you'll now have a tab with the settings in it. So we were on Boxel stats. Next one I have is Codex Entries. This is going to be just all the Codex entries that pop up if you fly into a new region. You'll probably notice that you've never been there before, because every system you hop into, you're getting a new Codex warning. This is pretty much that. It's showing you a list of what region you're in, when you found that Codex entry. So these aren't new codexes, these are just the existing ones that you finally discovered yourself. If you did find a new one, it would be here too, but there's really nothing here telling you that it's newly found by you. So yeah, that's pretty much all it is with Codex entries. Colliders is very cool. However, it's a depressing one because you don't really find a lot of colliders. All the systems I've been to, I've only found 4 possible collisions, and my most recent one, there's no collision detected in the next 20 years. So it's cool. There's going to be a collision happening, but not in my lifetime. And then the other 2 are good candidates, and it tells you when the collision is going to happen and how long. Um, it also shows the period. So how long will it take for this collision to happen again? I think this is based on days. Um, and then if
Yes.
yeah, and then if some systems don't have enough information, like you've been to it, but maybe you didn't scan the actual bodies, you just honked, it's going to notify you and say, hey, there's a possible collision here. We need more scans to know for sure. Um,
Need more scans is if you scanned it in Horizons, because in Odyssey they added extra orbital parameters.
okay, perfect. There was a collision one that said need more recent scans that I visited. I think it was my first GEC entry that said it was a collision, but then LCU went and double checked it, and it ended up not being a collision candidate.
Oh, oof.
So I don't know what parameters threw it off, but I'm pretty sure that's updated now. But yeah, this one's definitely good to have, because you might come across a collision, and collisions are very rare. Like, they're not found actively. Uh, I I would imagine they're actually missed or looked over a lot of the times. But with this tool, you'll make sure that you never miss one. Or even if you go to a system and you honk it, and you didn't know that there was a collision, you come here, you check it, you can see, oh man, I was there, last month. I didn't know there was a collision or possible collision, and go off of that. So yeah, pretty good tool. I would just have it just in case. Evaluator, this is the one that I was saying gives you an estimate of the total value of the system, depending on the high valuable bodies that it has. Um, I think he updated it fairly recently to where now when you do fully FSS a system, it's going to give you an order of what you should scan. Like, so this is 1, 2, 3. It's telling me that 2C is probably closest to me. So I want to hit this one first. Then after that, this one will be closest, and then this one. I don't know if it works 100%. I really didn't notice it as I was doing it. I just go, first. The way I do it, I just go first body, second body, and I just keep going. But sometimes you might have, you want to scan the whole system, or you want to scan just the water worlds, and number 10 is closer than number 7 at the time. But that's the latest update, is the order thing. But as far as everything else, it's pretty straightforward, showing you what the type of body is, the distance to it, is terraformable, the current value unscanned, and then if you don't scan it, it's giving you an estimate of the potential max. But if you do scan it, it's going to give you the actual amount. So before scanning this one, it was 400,000. Since I scanned it and it was terraformable, that's the value that I got after. Or I didn't scan it, I'm sorry. This one I scanned, this one I didn't. This could be higher or not. I don't think this is 100% accurate, but it's a good range. But that's pretty much all you're using it for. Yeah. I used it when I think I found a system like 6 water worlds in it and a couple of terraformables. I think it was my highest valuable system. This thing was like 33 million. This is the plugin that or this is the tool I went to determine that as I was scanning it. So it's really not necessary if you're gonna scan them anyway, but it just gives you a good layout or whatnot. Um, the main one. This is the one you need to have, you want to have, and it's probably the one that you're gonna be on the most. Um, this is this is the brains of this tool. Like what we are using is going to be from this tool whenever we're exploring. This is what's going to call out things on your screen in the bottom corner. And it's what you're going to refer to instead of the system map to see exactly what's going on in the system. First thing it's going to show you is if it's undiscovered or not. So if you don't get this, that means that it's already been discovered. This will be the first thing that usually pops up. Then after that, the order in which you scan it is going to populate. If it's something that the criteria um, checks with and it matches, it's going to populate something here. Now I have duplicates. My criteria file is very messy. I haven't cleaned it up. So these are the same notification, just doubled because I have the same line of code duplicated in my custom file. I can find it and just delete it, and then I'll only get one. So if you're wondering why, that's why. But depending on what you have in your custom criteria file, is what is going to be displayed here. So the custom criteria file is probably going to be the most important thing you're going to want to do, and that is going to be installed in the Explorer tab in Core. So the Explorer tab in Core is the one that you're going to want to go to adjust some things. This is what it's going to call out. All these things that are checked, it's going to automatically call out without a custom criteria file. This is just the normal file within it. Now, if you want to add additional criteria for it to call out that's not included here, that's where you're going to put this. And this file could be downloaded. I don't know if Julian's here or not. No. This is a custom criteria file that has pretty much everything that's been added so far. Julian went ahead and made his own. Uh, like pretty much went through all the other ones, grabbed the ones that are good, and then just made it very organized and more detailed. So for the newer players, they can kind of understand what the file is doing. He also wrote it in a way to where um, as it's calling out things, uh, you can determine what it's calling out, so you're not really confused. And if you need any help with anything, you have any questions on it, you can contact Julian directly, and he'll assist you. Like if you're having any issues or you see something wasn't accurate, um, he wants you to reach out to him so you can adjust it accordingly. And as new things get added or things change, he's gonna update it accordingly. So Julian's is a good one to have. I'm not currently running it because I have my mess or whatever I have in there, but I'll probably go ahead and install this and try it out soon just to see. Because the one that I'm using now, it works and it does have the stuff that I want. So I don't really like touching the file because I'm not really sure if I'm gonna mess something up or not. But yeah, just leave it up to them if you're confused with this whole custom criteria stuff. And the main thing is that once you download that, you're just going to browse, you're going to find that file, and then you're going to select it. It's going to pop up here. After you do that, you're going to want to hit read all again, or um, just close out the observatory altogether or reopen it. If you see this is populated with the file that you have, then that means that it worked. You're just going to want to hit read all, and then give it some time. When it populates, you should see this Explorer tab window populate with a bunch of stuff. Now it's going to populate with all of your systems that you've discovered ever since the first time you opened up the game, as long as your journal files are in the folder. Because what it's doing is it's going through all those files and it's now going to populate this window with it. So this is from 2020. I was playing on Xbox before that, but when I played PC and bought Odyssey, I guess this would be the first system I visited or that is in my journals. So what you're going to do is scroll all the way down, and this will be your latest system that you've been to. Now, there is a setting in Core where you can change that. Here, only show current system. So when I hit read all and it populates everything before I jump into the game, it's going to show me everything. However, when I jump to my first system, make sure you hit start monitors running. When I jump to that system and I honk it and there's stuff to scan and I start FSS scanning and stuff is going to start populating in here, all this big list is now going to go away and it's just going to be focused on showing me my current system that I'm in. So
So
only from here
the read
it'll show.
all is only necessary when you first start it up, right? You don't need to hit read all every time you start Observatory Core.
You do need to hit read all because what it's doing is it's running through your whole journal entries and it's just updating. It's just filling it in. Now I don't know if you're just going off of like, okay, I just explored yesterday and now I want to explore today. I'm not gonna hit read all. I'm just gonna start monitor and it's gonna start reading it. I don't know if that still works. I don't know if you guys know if you want to jump in, but I would just hit read all out of habit. You could automatically have it read all as well. It's at the very bottom, the last checkbox under core. It says read all on observatory launch. Whenever you launch the program, it's going to automatically start reading them.
Interesting.
I do that because sometimes I'll open it and I'll forget to hit read all and I'm already in the game. And now it's like I have to hit read all and now I have to wait, 5-6 minutes for it to populate and then I can hit start monitor because the whole program is going to freeze when you hit read all. It's going to kind of like pause.
That's,
Doesn't mean it's not
Why?
working.
that's interesting. I've
What?
only hit read
Why do you
all once.
on launch?
Because when I open it up, all right. So if I close it right now, right? If I uncheck this, we'll see if it saves. Okay, so it opened. I did not hit read all. I don't have anything. Oh, I have body count in here, but that's not all my systems. I had more in here before. Vastness isn't in there. Boxel stats is. Codex Entries isn't in there. Colliders is. My Evaluator is not in there. My Explorer is not in there. See, so there's stuff that's not in there already. So if you want to refer to something that you went to in the past, read all is going to populate those things.
Right.
Um,
Oh, yeah, that makes sense because I've
yeah.
mostly been using it for whatever I'm currently scanning. I'm not really looking back because we
Well, if you're not
just,
looking back and it's working, then I would say you don't really need to use it. I just do it out of habit just to make sure that Observatory Core is just, refreshed, if you will.
yeah, gotcha.
Well, I have a recommendation, which is what I do since I've been playing for a while. Journals will populate the folder, and it'll be a couple of seconds for Observatory Core to load it. So what you can do is like for old journals, which you don't look at anymore, or you just don't want in there, you can move them to a separate file so that the application won't just like hang for like 30 seconds. Instead, it'll be like 10 seconds, so you can reduce the load on it if you want.
Yeah,
If
that
you're
is a
just
good
using
here.
Observatory
Oh, Julian, hi.
to hey to actively work as you explore, you don't need to use read all. If you want to use it as a reference to have your past systems included when you're looking something up or trying to find a trend, something like that, then yes, it's absolutely useful to have a read all. But if you just want to hop into the game and like find that highly inclined body in the next system that you go into, it will do that without having to hit read all.
Yeah, actually, I have an example for using the read all. If you're currently in a system and say like, okay, I'm gonna jump to the system, I'm gonna honk it, and then I'm gonna log off. I'm not gonna scan all the bodies. But when you honk it, you see there's like 30 something bodies. You close everything out. You come back the next day. You open up Observatory. If you don't hit read all, it's not gonna show you the system in there that you honked, like undiscovered system, and then like say you mapped 10 of them before you logged off. Those 10 criteria that might have populated in here are not going to be visible if you didn't hit read all. So if you want to see where you left off and see, oh yeah, I scanned this body already, you can hit read all and then it'll populate that system live. So
Mhm.
if that would be an occurrence for it, I just have it do it automatically just because that's how I've always done it. But I think Matt G wrote in his directions, all whenever you start up, hit read all, then start monitor. But um, I'll hit read all now just to give you an idea of how long it takes for it to load in. Because all my systems, I think I've been to like 22,000 systems. Um, so that number, this is how long it's gonna take for it to actually populate all my shit. It takes quite a long time. So that's why
Yeah.
I usually open this up right as soon as I boot up my PC. I don't even know if I'm gonna play Elite for the day, but I just boot this up just to have in the background, so I don't gotta do it later, because it does take a while.
It
Um,
also it's liable to crash if you read all and then continue playing,
correct.
um, because it will try and read what you're actually doing from the journal, but it's also reading your history, and
Yep.
it freaks out and will crash. So if you
Yes.
want to do a read all, if you have the game open, don't do anything like scan planets or jump systems or anything like that. Just wait for it to happen.
Just
But the
don't have the
best thing to
monitor
do,
turned on.
right? Oh yeah, yeah. Or turn off the monitor, and that'll work as well. But the easiest thing to do is just to open it beforehand, or and then have it ready when you start playing.
Yeah. Yeah. Because as you can see, it's still going. I can't use it yet. There's also a setting in there in Core that doesn't just automatically read all, it also automatically starts the monitor once it's finished. So there are plenty of times where I go into the game and I forget to hit this start monitor button, and I'll fully scan a system and then I'll be like, wait, those that there were atmospheres in this system, but I didn't get any notifications. And then I'd go over here and I see, oh, I forgot to hit start monitor. So that will happen from time to time. If that's the case, and now you're like, dang, now I hit start monitor, but it's not going to show me what I just scanned. Just close it out, hit read all, and what you just scanned should populate back in here. So that's another reason you might want to hit read all. But the next one is going to be Gek. This is new. All this is doing is it's taking your location in the galaxy and it's giving you a list of the nearest Gek entries and some details of it. So the title of it, the description, the rating it had when it was updated, stuff like that. The distance from your current location. So if you're looking for POIs to visit, Gek is really useful to have as well because you can refer to it to see if you're near anything, or you might be near a POI that you've always wanted to see, and now you can see it here is only 5,000 light years away. Now you can see, oh man, I'm actually pretty close, so let me go visit it. So that's all the Gek is really used for, and I think it's updated as they add new entries in. So yeah, signal monitor we went over. That was telling you the listening posts and the NSPs and whatnot. And then stat scanner is something that I added recently. That's not officially on the website. It's made by I think it's FJK. He's a member on the Discord that writes a bunch of the code and helps out. He has a file, or he created a file that pretty much tells you like records, and it'll let you know how close you are to that record, how many other people are tied with that record, and if it's a new galactic record or a new personal one. Um, I was just kind of skimming over it just to see what it's about and see if I had any records, but I can't really tell off of it because so many things populate.
Can we get the
But
link to that?
it's okay, yeah. So I got the white bar.
There,
Now
I
now
just
I
put a
got
link to all of Fred's
oh perfect.
observatory plugins in the chat.
There you go. Now these are not official plugins. These are his like alpha testing plugins, if you will. I think I think he tells you in the description that he's still working on it or it's a work in progress. But that's extra stuff that if you want to check out, you can. They're always working on new things to add to this tool. But yeah, it's still loading, as you can see. See, I get the message, but that's okay. I'm gonna wait for it to respond. So it does take its time when you do hit read all and you have a lot of information. So just be wary of that. Use Arcanic's little tip if you don't want to deal with this. I might start doing that myself. But that's pretty much Observatory Core. It's going to be the main tool that you're going to want to run while exploring because it is calling out stuff in the system that you might not visibly see. You just scan, and then you can decide if you want to go visit it or not. You know, so very useful tool. that I'm glad I got introduced to, and that a lot of the explorers are like mainly using now.
Yeah, it's
So
great.
that's
And
yeah,
just to add to this, I mostly use Explorer and BioInsights. And in Explorer itself, it will already tell you like if it's potentially a helium-rich voxel or if there are bodies with biosignals. And, you know, if you have biosignals, then you check BioInsights. There's always a specific reason to go to another tab. But mostly when you're exploring like Explorer and BioInsights, you know, I know JP wants to go for all that juicy bacterium. So you can find out which juicy bacterium you're gonna find in BioInsights.
It should also be mentioned that there is a significant UI update coming to Observatory relatively soon, and that's going to enable plugin authors to do things like um, create the ability for the Observatory window to show multiple plugins at a time. So you wouldn't necessarily have to be clicking through all the tabs if you want to use Evaluator and BioInsights at the same time, for example. So it's not out yet, but it's actively being worked on, and all the screenshots and data that I have seen about it is really cool.
Nice.
So we'll
yeah,
maybe we'll revisit Observatory once that comes out, and we can talk about any changes or ways that you can do this differently.
yeah. Yeah, I know he's gonna have like a light and dark mode. My main thing that I want him to add is a search function, because if you want to look at your read all, like say you hit read all and all your journals pop up, and you want to refer back to a system you found, or maybe like like a record, and you know system name, but there's no way of searching that system and having it just show it to you. You have to physically or manually find the date that you discovered that, and then just scroll down and match the date, and then just keep scrolling and manually find it, and it's a hassle. So if he adds a search function or makes these filters work where if you hit it, it actually
Hmm.
filters it,
That'd be
then
cool. I mean, you can
that'd be the
export your
best.
data and then load it into, like Notepad++
uh
and search it that way as
that's
well.
that's what I
It's just
had
one
to
extra
do.
step.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, you'll notice if you click these, it's not really filtering it like top to bottom or changing the order. He's aware of that. I think he's trying to work on it or fix it, but
Yes, that's part of the UI redo.
okay, sweet. Okay, so now it just finished. So all that time, it finally finished. So you can get a sense of how long it takes when you hit read all, just to have it populate all your stuff. But yeah, it's a stat scanner. As you can see, it shows a lot of my stuff that I scanned, but it gives
Mind
you an
you,
idea.
we haven't seen close to 22,000 systems yet because
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
mine
like
takes
everyone's gonna be different.
mine takes about 10 seconds to load. I was like, why
Yeah,
is this taking so long to load?
10 seconds. But yeah, that's pretty much Observatory. The pop-up notifications can be edited in the core version. You can change the color, the font, the size, the duration of how long it stays visible, and the position. You can also have these voiced out to you if you download the Herald plugin. It's using another tool that's using a robot voice to speak the text to you instead. Some people prefer that. You can enable that here.
It's really
Export op.
useful for VR. If you play in VR, you don't have to worry about
Ah,
looking at the Observatory window. It will
yep.
tell you things.
Or if you don't have a second monitor.
Yeah.
Yeah. The export, I don't touch this, but I think it's just showing you the file path for where, if you chose export, where it's going to save it to.
Yep.
BioInsights, we went over this, so I'll go over a little bit more. You can change the icons from the colors to emojis or nothing at all. That's these things right here. So if you want thumbs up, thumbs down instead of red and green, you can do that.
The
Um,
alternate icon scheme was a special request from the creator of Observatory Core because he is colorblind, and the
oh,
red and
nice,
green icons did not make any sense.
perfect. There you go. Yeah, all these are pretty self-explanatory if you want them to show or not, or if you want them to notify you of them. The current body UI position, I'm not sure of that. I don't know what this does.
Which one was it?
This one, current body UI position. In
Can
order to move
you
the file.
click on the options?
Yeah, I am. You see
Oh,
it?
no, I can't. It doesn't actually show that window, which is interesting. That
Oh,
doesn't do anything because reordering the UI is broken.
okay. And
Yeah.
then the values is like what the estimated value of that variant is if you want to set limits to these.
We
Um,
have a question in the
yeah.
chat. Richard, that is there a difference between the sun and hammer types?
Yes. So he hasn't added it in this in here yet, but there is a here legend. My bad. I don't know if you guys can see the legend.
No, but I've linked it in this Discord before. There's a
Here,
picture,
let me
maybe
see.
in Must Have Info or in the exobiology channel pinned.
Let me see if I could change window to it. Here it is. Okay.
Oh, got it.
So if you hit show legend, this will pop up in an extra window, and this is what all the icons mean. So variant is marked. It means that you've not seen it in that region, but you've probably seen it in another region. So if it's like say a stratum tectonicus, you know you've seen it in the bubble region, right? But now you're in a different region or the next region over, and you haven't done any bio there. The blue thing is going to show up on all of the variants until you scan them. Once you scan them and they're in your codex, you won't see this blue square anymore. Orange square is the new codex entry in the region. This is the one you're going to want to look for. And then red triangle, if you get this, I think you get $100. Because I've never seen the red triangle, but that means that you found a new galactic entry. Means that it has not been found anywhere yet in any region, and you just
These are
found
getting very
something.
rare. I think last
Yeah,
August was the last time that a galactic first was discovered.
yeah. Most of the ones that are left right now are different types of bodies and regions. So an F supergiant, a certain Wolf-Rayet star. So all the different variants of stars. There's still some variants of stars that aren't found in certain regions, and that's when you'll probably see the red triangle. As far as bios go, I think we've found every possible bio in every
No,
region.
actually, the green triangle is going to be much more likely for a bio. I think that all of the stellar bodies in the game have been found at least once in one region. And Arcanic, you can tell me I'm wrong if I'm wrong.
The thing is that there are areas that certain stars can generate in that are not present in the outer regions. Like, Tenebrae, Shibalba, Aquilus Halo, those obviously can't spawn Wolf Rayets, they can't spawn well, could spawn
Sure,
white dwarfs,
but
but
we're talking about galactic codex entries anywhere in the galaxy. So I don't think that there is a brand new type of star that hasn't been found in
oh no,
any
those are
region.
all, yeah, you're
Yeah.
correct. Those are all
The green
discovered.
triangle is going to be only found on bios, and it's going to be a color of bacterium tella or whatever that has never been found in any region. And so the ones that are remaining on those are the really, really rare ones, like the type of concha that grows only at Wolf-Rayet stars.
Yeah, so like yeah, Wolf-Rayet, O stars, probably B star variants, but
Yeah, and white dwarfs as well.
those are gonna be really hard to find if you're actively trying to find just that one. That's probably gonna happen randomly if it happens at all. Because the likeliness that it hasn't been found yet is should tell you like okay, it's probably not in here. But there's not a lot of people go to the basic BOVZ systems, because they're pretty much the same. But one of those could have a bio variant. You never know.
Oh shoot. Um Also, we don't actually know if the ammonia rich atmospheres have bios or not.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So we might have no idea what other
Yeah, there's also the
bios
silicate.
exist.
Also the
Do
silicate vapor,
Well,
right?
however, are there any bios exclusive to any of the other rich atmosphere types? I don't think that there are.
Yeah, the water atmospheres, they have that variant of
Water
cacti or
rich.
or
Well,
whatever,
a
or the
water
water
atmosphere
atmosphere.
is a pure. I mean, that's pure. That's a water atmosphere. Water
Yeah,
rich doesn't have any unique bios that water doesn't also
I
feature.
meant I meant water will have like a certain variant of the cactus or whatever that I haven't seen on other atmospheres at all but water.
Oh yeah,
Um,
definitely. And a lot of the atmosphere types have unique. In fact, that's how a lot of the colors are chosen.
yeah,
Um, no,
but
sorry, that's how a lot of the species are chosen.
yeah,
What I mean is, ammonia atmospheres have bios that are they require an ammonia atmosphere to generate in that specific way. But um, neon rich or argon rich atmospheres do not have any unique bios that require that specific atmosphere to generate.
Hmm.
uh,
I
um,
believe it is only the neon, argon, nitrogen, oxygen, water, etc.
you could probably check that with the Canon BioForge tool
Yeah,
real quick.
I'd have to look at that to be sure, but I'm
Yeah,
90% on that.
okay. Yeah, because that'll show you how many regions it's been found, and then it'll give you a rundown of
Yeah,
what the
but
systems
I
contain.
mean, on the other hand, some of these rich atmosphere types, like ammonia rich, are so rare that we don't know. It could be an outlier.
Yeah. Um, Let me go back to observatory.
Thanks for the question, by the way, Brune. That was
Yeah,
very
yeah,
good.
yeah. Not yeah. That was a good
Oh,
question because it gets looked
right.
over.
We didn't actually answer the question though, did we?
Oh well, I
Oh
mean,
shit!
you
I
could
The-
did.
read. You could
so the
read the
difference between
legend.
the sun and the hammer icon,
Yeah,
the ones that have a sun next to it, those species are determined by the type of star in the system that is lighting that planet.
yeah,
The types with the hammer depend on the mineral content of the planet to determine what species it is. So, like what's that one? Recepta is a species that I think three out of the four. It's a genus that 3 out of the 4 species depend on the metal content of the planet. So it has a certain amount of this element, it's going to be Recepta umbrux. But if it has a certain amount of that element, it's going to be Delta Hedronix instead.
yeah. And a good practice of really like looking at these to determine what like I really don't look at these. I tend to ignore it. However, the only time I would take it into account is if I see a new variant, like the orange box. Then I would check this to see if it's going off of the star type or if it's going off of the mineral. Because like I said earlier, you're gonna have secondary stars that it'll pop up like this and it'll show red. Because I think this is a neutron star main with a K star secondary.
Yep.
So the K star was probably close enough to the neutron to where the neutron sun took precedence over the K star. But if this was a hammer, I would be more inclined to go to it because it's not using the star color to predict the variant. It's now going off of the mineral content. So I'm ignoring the star altogether. I don't care if it's close or far, and there's a better chance that the variant is going to be here if it's a mineral. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So yeah, the lighting with what takes precedence over the other stars is very wonky in the game. You'll notice it if you go to like a Y star planet and you're like way like you're a good distance away from it. Say it's like a neutron or something, and the Y star is still not being the main light source for that moon. It's the neutron being the main light source, and you're like, that doesn't make any sense. That does happen, especially with ones that have two suns orbiting, and you got a one main light source, but then you see the other one isn't being a light source, but it's like visibly closer to it. So that is something that is in the game that's a little wonky. So with bio and that, it kind of goes together because if you see that it's a good distance away from the main star, yeah, probably want to go to it because there's a good chance that the main light source changes. But if it's within a reasonable distance, you probably are gonna say, oh well, the main light source is probably from the main star, so probably not there. But I tend to check them anyway just in case because you never really know. But yeah,
Yes. On
back
one hand,
yeah,
Matt G, the creator of BioInsights, has said if the icon is red, it's not going to be there unless his math turns out to be wrong, which is possible but very unlikely.
yeah,
That being said, if you see orange, it's pretty much a good idea to go check it out just in case.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good. I mean, you're not going to see orange a lot, so when you do see an orange, you get excited. You know,
Yeah.
there's a possibility. You might as well just take the time to fly to it. You know, you might have to use the bathroom at that point. Just put on some cruise assist. You know, let it do its thing, whatever. But as far as all the other settings, Boxel stats, are very basic settings. The Codex entries just have some basic settings. Collider, same thing. Evaluator, you can set parameters. So if you're strictly going for money, you can set parameters on what you want it to show you if something's over a certain value or not. I don't really touch this stuff.
Did you talk
Uh,
about how Evaluator and BioInsights talk to each other now?
yeah, with the whole order.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay,
was kind
cool.
of going over that, but I wasn't sure if it was perfected because I know that there were some issues with that. It wasn't like
It's
100%
really
accurate.
good around single star systems. It's pretty good around multi-star systems.
Okay, so yeah, I think they're still working on that, but yeah, the evaluator that's this order tab that I pointed out earlier. That's the latest thing that was added. So it's pretty much talking with BioInsights, showing me, hey, there's BioInsights here. So you're gonna probably want to go there first and scan all the bios and get money. Then you can go to this one and just map them. You know, so um, that's pretty much what it's doing. Uh, and Explorer. So Explorer, we did the custom criteria. If you guys have already tried that or already had a file, if you ever want to change the file or say you updated it and resaved it as a new name, you just go here, browse, and select the new one, and reload the Observatory Core, and it should be all good. Um, the get catalog is pretty straightforward. Signal monitor. Yeah, I don't know what these mean. That's if you're in the bubble. I mean, that's if you're in the bubble and you're doing like a lore tour and you want to visit all the listening
Yeah.
posts. Maybe this would be handy.
The only thing that
Um,
that is useful for in the black is for NSPs, and it doesn't
okay.
even get all of them.
Huh.
It'll get the ones that are that show up when you FSS them or honk.
Mm,
But if you're looking for FS or for NSPs, or you are in an area where you might find them, it's a good idea to just check your nav panel every time you enter a system just to see if there are any there, because they don't show up any other way,
yeah.
particularly the ones that live in asteroid fields. They don't show up on the FSS, they don't show up when you honk. They just only show up as a signal source on the left hand panel of your ship.
Yep. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then most important, journal path. If this isn't already filled out, you're going to want to browse and find the folder where all your journal files are. Now, this should be, I don't think I changed mine. Mine's under the PC name, saved games, Frontier Developments, and then Elite Dangerous.
Yeah, that's the default location.
So this is the default. So if you want to find yours, this is going to be the one you want to select. What I did on Windows is I made a favorite shortcut, so I have easy access to it. Because when you launch ED Astro and you go to the interactive map, they have a feature where you can load in your last journal files or any journal file, and it will populate the. It'll either show you a marker of where you last logged on or logged off at, or it'll show you a line if you wanted it to show like say you add 10 journal files. I want you to show me the route that I did from these 10 journal files. It'll show you the actual line of whatever you went to for the journal files that you added to it. So that's why I tend to shortcut it so I can just easily select it there. um, but yeah, other than that, this is going to be the main folder for your journal path. This is what it's reading. So make sure that's selected and never changed. You don't want to accidentally think this is custom criteria and put it there. You know, it's going to mess things up. But yeah, that's pretty much Observatory. Export button will export all of your criteria in, I guess, whatever window you have selected. And
No,
it'll
it's
put
all
it
of
in
them. It's every tab.
everything. Oh
Yeah,
shit.
it puts it in separate files.
Oh, okay. So this will export everything that's in here. I would recommend hitting this after hitting read all, and it does this thing because then
Yep.
it'll have everything you want. Or you could export it at the end of each session and just keep a folder with all those, so you have them. But they do have that option, and then clear. I think it clears everything. So after hitting read all, it populated. I don't want it anymore. I'll hit clear, and then I'll hit start monitor, and then go about my day if you want to do it that way. But even after loading all this, after reading all my files and then running the game and having it still populate, since I have the setting where it only shows me the current bio and my current system I'm in, all of this goes away after I do my first system. So it's just there at the start. And then it goes from there. So if you have those checked, BioInsights, where is it? I don't see it. But yeah, Explorer has it where I tell it to only show me my current system, so it's not always populating the freaking list of stuff I have to scroll. So, um, but yeah, that's Observatory Core. That's your bread and butter. Um, I don't know what tool we can do next. We kind of did EDJP last time. I would say either ED Discovery or ED Market Connector.
Yeah,
What do you guys think?
we got about 13 minutes left for the other one. So chop chop.
Yeah, this was the main one. This was the main one that you're gonna want to run.
Yeah.
The other ones are just additional. Um, they do different things, but they typically do the same thing, I would say.
Discovery has a lot more functionality than
Yeah,
EDMC,
Discovery's pretty much like Observatory Core. It's just more detailed and in depth.
and a lot harder to use.
Yeah, and it's going to use a lot more processing power. Also, the only thing that's different than Observatory is ED Discovery and ED Market Connector are going to be able to communicate with EDSM, EDDN, and Inara, and
And
send
ED
your
Astro.
and ED Astro, and send all your journals over an API key so that they are updated
Only
live.
use one at a time. Don't use both
Only use
programs.
one at a
Yep.
time. So you're either going to want to use, if you want to send your data without a lot of processing power, I recommend ED Market Connector.
Hmm. Or there's
And
a
then
light
if you
version of ED Discovery as well. I've never used it, but I've heard that it works. It works a lot. It's a lot less resource intensive than the
okay,
Good.
full version.
yes, you can look into
That's
that.
totally reasonable.
I use EDMC just because I've always used it, and that is I run it in the background. I don't have it displayed, but it's there running strictly just to send my data to those sites. Um, and then the only other tool I use is EDJP, because what that's going to do is it's going to notify you when you target a system if it's in EDSM or not. It's also useful for the whole Boxel thing. So, but my main tool that I'm running on the side with it is going to be Observatory Core, and that's going to be always visible. And the tab is going to depend on what I'm actively looking for. So, but
The reason that I use ED Discovery instead of EDMC is because it is an awesome tool for searching your own journal history. Um, it's got a really powerful search function. You can set all sorts of parameters and body types and distances and stuff like that, atmospheres, whatever, basically whatever stat you can think of, and it will pull you a list of all the things that you have discovered. You can even search things like stations that you've landed on if you're looking for a particular spot.
yeah.
You can find just about anything about your history as a gamer, as long as you have the journals from whenever you were playing.
hmm
And
That's
so
that.
I
That's
don't.
the
Oh
only
yeah, sorry.
reason I use it now. Is
Hmm.
like I don't run it when the game's running. I still have it installed because I might have took a screenshot at a system, and because I don't have the name of that system on the screenshot and I don't remember where it was taken. I would open up ED Discovery, like wait for it to do its thing, and then type in the search bar screenshot, and now it's only going to display all of the screenshots that I've taken. Now I can just find it based off of the date, and then if it's still in that same folder, it'll show me a little preview. There's a extra tool you can open on the side that shows you a little preview of the screenshot. So I basically use it for like stuff like that. or if I need details on a certain body or system, I'll just copy paste the system name, and then I'll go to the little system map that it displays in there, and then just hover over the bodies to get the information rather than opening up the game or going through EDSM and whatnot. So very useful for that end, and the processing power really doesn't come into play because you're not running the game at the same time. So
Don't you use Discovery to convert your screenshots?
I was, and I love that tool. I would still be using it. However, there was a time where I was like, I booted it all up. I took a screen. I was taking high-res screenshots, and I went to go check them, and it was only saving the first screenshot I took in that system, but nothing
Huh.
after.
Okay.
So new.
Did you switch to EDJP then?
No, well, I tried EDJP out, but I didn't like it because I couldn't. It didn't have the same titling function and the same resolution setting function. Like you can set it to whatever title you wanted in a certain order, and then you could also set the resolution that you wanted.
Mhm.
EDJP kind of does it automatically.
Now,
So,
EDJP has, yeah, it may have been a while since you used that. I like the naming function on EDJP better. It has more options, and you can put them in whatever order you want. You just kind of build uh, the uh,
oh yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
file
yeah,
name as you
yeah,
like, and it has
yeah.
options that Discovery doesn't even have, like your ship name.
That's the naming, but my main thing was resolution. You can't
Mm,
like I'm 1440. If I wanted to do 1080 instead, I couldn't tell it to do that.
I see.
That's the only thing. And I think it
See if
I
that's
don't know if
changed.
it I don't know if you can remove the original high res file as well at the same time. Like
Um,
only keep the converted.
Yes, you
yes, you
can.
Okay.
can.
I'm using that. If I take a high-res screenshot, there are no options for other resolutions, I think, but you have the option to delete the original
The original.
bitmap
Okay.
and keep the PNG.
Cool.
Yeah,
So that's the main thing you're gonna want to use the screenshot converter for is if you're running out of space on your computer because the more screenshots you take over time, the high res ones, they're gonna add up. Like you'll notice 10 screenshots for high res is like almost 4 or 5 gigs. And
yeah,
those are just the BMPs just sitting there. So if you're gonna convert it anyway to share it around, you might as well want to get rid of that original file if you're not gonna do anything with it later, you know. So very useful for that end. Um, I haven't tried EDD's converter since because there was a new update recently, but I'm already content. Like I do things manual where I just uh, size the resolution down myself and rename it and convert it. That's just me. But ED Discovery's way of doing it was very nice, where it subfoldered your systems. I think that's what EDJP doesn't do. It doesn't
that's
create
correct.
the same subfolder. So I had a folder that I created, which was converted screenshots. Then in that folder was a list of all the folders, and those folders were each system I took a screenshot in. Then when I open that, it would show me the screenshots and the converted ones as well. So I love that feature because that's how I went back and saw, oh, I took this at this body or this system. So in EDJP, it'll just be in the file name, whereas in ED Discovery, they were using folders more or less,
Can
if that
you
makes
show
sense.
EDJP? Because last time we did go over some EDJP functionality, but we couldn't actually see like the. We can see I'm in the holy snack. This is my my adder, and you can see I've reached my last waypoint, 13 of 13, because I was going to one of the POIs. And this is amazing. Like the neutron route and the Boxel survey, both incredible tools. Because normally, if you use Spanch, the website, you need to like Alt Tab or go on your second screen and like fill it out, and then also copy the system names. What neutron route does is it automatically takes your current location and if you have a system copied where you want to go, for example POI, it automatically fills this in. If I go away, I'll just copy a random POI. which I
It's
have.
not gonna. It's gonna be in a different window, so it won't show up on your
Yeah.
stream.
Okay, so I have now Beagle Point copied. Let's say from my current system RM, I need to go to Beagle Point. I click neutron root. Currently operating 5 different apps at the same time. So you can see I opened the window, I have Beagle Point copied, and it automatically fills it in. Wow, my adder doesn't jump 60 light years, just to be clear, but my Mark II that I Explorer does. So you fill out your jump range, and you go generate and save. And then it'll start to, oh, there we go. My screen is gone. It filled in the waypoints now. So there are 37 waypoints, and I'm currently headed for 2. So this system name here is now copied, and you can just paste it in the galaxy map. And then if you reach that system, EDJP will read your journal, say, hey, you're there. It'll automatically copy the next waypoint. And then you can just paste in GalMap and go. And you do not even need to open this open journal processor. What I also love this for example, sometimes you want to do a Boxel search and maybe you want to start at 0. So you just click copy system name to clipboard, paste it in a GalMap, change 8 to 0, and then you can start there. Or use Boxel survey. Let me switch screens again. Boxel survey, there we go. This is so genius. I love this one so much. So you can see you can use the current system or the last selected system. There are some options here. Or you can even go to the next Boxel from here. But so let's say we want to use the current one. Click go. And then you can begin at the beginning of the Boxel, or if you've already done a few, say jump to 9. So I'm currently in 8. Let's say I've done 0 to 8. You can now jump to 9, and then it'll take 9 as the next system that's copied. And you could just keep pasting in GalMap and going. It's genius. And if you want to explore new stuff, you can go ignore systems that you've already visited. It could be if you're jumping to a system and you do not have the jump range, it'll route you through a system that is higher up the list. And then if you've had that one, it'll ignore that and copy the next one if you get to that number, that system. And you can also ignore systems currently in EDSM, which is handy if you think like, hey, that's already been explored. For exobiology, I do recommend to not check that one, because there are a lot of systems that are in EDSM, but people didn't go for the exobio, or exobio didn't exist yet. So I keep that unchecked.
That system could have been scanning horizons before bio was even added. So EDSM will still have it. Doesn't mean that, so I tend to keep that checked off because of that, but that's just me.
And you can also process Boxel in reverse order. Let's say you have 1,000 systems there and you're at 950 or so, and you look at the Gal map and think like, the first 50 are not that important. Reverse in that order, or if you don't want to jump all the way to 0.
Yeah. Or if someone else would start, like you'll probably hit a helium rich Boxel that someone started, did like a good amount of systems, but there's still like 500 remaining. Like the one in Izanami, if you came across that, you'd see that I did like the first 300. So in that case, you might want to work backwards, because you notice that like the higher ones aren't visited. So
then when I click save and start, let's switch back to EDJP. There we go. Now in this routing mode section, I'll see it'll start me at system 0 in the Boxel, and then it'll skip 8 because I'm already there. So it's incredible tool.
All right, question from Aldebaran in the chat. What does follow route and make route do? If you just want to leave your screen up there, Basque, we don't need to go into the options for this. We'll just explain it as quickly as we can. EDJP can save routes that you want to create and follow, and you can get waypoints for them by actually going into the gal map and selecting systems. So you push the button and then you have your gal map open and you select systems in turn, and then it will save those in order. And you can save that as a route file and follow it or come back to it later. So that's pretty cool. But the real magic of what EDJP can do with this is the optimize route button. With that, you can create a route in any order that you want with as many waypoints as you want. And then you save it. You go to the optimize button, and it will find the shortest path through all of the waypoints that you have saved and reorder them so that you can go through them in the shortest distance possible. It is so cool. And for things like designing routes for expeditions or or visiting a particular series of places, like say you want to visit all the planetary nebula in the Norma expanse, you could add all of those to a custom route in EDJP and then optimize them, and it will give you the shortest route to visit all of them.
Making custom routes is like a looked under feature of this, because
Oh yeah,
I mean, you could technically make your own route in the game, but they're only going to be shown as like random bookmarks. They're not going to be ordered or numbered. So this kind of gives you the ability to make your own expedition route. If you'll like, it could be small, it could be a long one, but this kind of helps you out on mapping that journey. So like, it's like, okay, I know I want to go here, then I want to go here, then I want to go here. This is going to give you like the best optimal route for it, or you can customize it, change stuff like that. So you always add to it too, I think, and like remove.
you can even via using the select systems from the gal map option, you can even route to stars that are not in Spanch or EDSM, because it will pull the coordinates when you actually select the system. So it's
That's
really cool that way.
That is cool. Very cool.
Any other questions?
Oh, and I also wanted to add, I've used the find the nearest GEC POI in the past. I think for carrier, it's better to use the map on ED Astro.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a dangerous button. It'll very frequently lead you to an empty system.
Yeah, for sure. But you can find, like, if you're out and you're feeling like you're in a touristic mood, and you can choose which type of GEC you want. Let's say nearest nebula. You can even choose the only POIs marked rare. Let's go to a rare nebula. Let's see what it does. And now another window pops up. That's so funny. There we go. You'll see there is one that is only 40,700 light years away from where I currently am.
That's the closest one.
Yeah, because I did the only POIs marked rare.
Rare one.
Yeah.
I think that the GEC plugin for Observatory is better for this function, but it does exist in EDJP.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what they did was they saw that this was an EDJP and then went to Observatory and said, "Hey, we should make this a tab in here because it looks like it does the same thing."
Matt G made the GEC plugin for Observatory, so he
it
probably
does all
just
the
took
same
his code
stuff.
and put it into Observatory.
Yeah,
Cool.
easier access in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I think the Earth-like world thing does something too.
me
I
see
forgot.
the ELW list.
Yeah.
Aldebaran carrier data will come from EDDN, just from anybody who's reporting that data to the data network. That's where Inara gets it from as well.
Find new entries. Hey, I've been a submitter of a few new entries. That's very cool.
Good job.
Oh
Proud
yeah,
of
look
you.
at that.
Good job. Look at that.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Hey, this is cool because it also shows system star types.
Oh, this is showing a list of your Earth-like worlds you found.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, nice. Okay. So that's something Observatory Core doesn't have, is a specific Earth-like world checker. So
Yes.
that's actually really cool.
Yeah, and it also
Yeah, cool.
shows if I was the first discoverer or not.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I knew it did something, but I just wasn't sure.
2 landable moons. Nice.
The only other
Yeah, what
the
is
only
the
other
next one?
tool I would say to check out is voice attack. People have written or have written criteria for voice attack that it reads perfectly with the game, and it's very helpful, especially if you're in like VR or you're into that. Like you want to use voice commands to do stuff in your ship and whatnot.
Also, yes, voice attack if you especially if you're in VR, but just if you want that extra way to control your ship, it can be a really useful
Yeah,
tool.
searching
So then
specific things.
the next episode will be what is considered rare and elite dangerous, and how do you best search for these things?
Very cool. I'm excited. So thanks TKO, Arcanic, and Julian.
No
Was
problem.
a lot of information. Again, very valuable. Yeah, I hope everyone has
Oh, we're full
enjoyed
of it.
this episode. I think that concludes the Exploratorium episode 2. Yeah, I think it was a success. Thanks so much for all the information, and we as Eden really appreciate IEA taking the time to educate us on all matters of exploration.
Yeah, no problem. And
Absolutely.
we're always around too. Don't wait for these shows to ask questions. You can ask them whenever you want.
Any of us, you can ping any
Yeah,
of us.
ping any of
We're
us.
not
Yeah.
like averse to that. It's all good.
No, yeah, we're not like, well, who's bothering me now? No, we're not like that. If we don't, if we, and like, if we don't get back to you right away, just give us a few hours or whatnot, or if we might have overlooked it, just ping us again if anything, because we're always very happy to respond or help other players out that have a question with something that we might know. So
Very cool.
yeah, and we're still learning as we go, so you might tell us something we don't know.
It's true.
Yeah. But
All right,
all right,
later,
guys,
everybody.
make sure you guys study. Test will be next week. I forgot to print out the test this week, so you're lucky. But that just means we'll have 2 tests next week. So study up. All right.
Professor TKO.
Adios.
Bye bye.